energetic participants. It is with great honor and renewed joy that SNS College of Technology, Department of Mathematics welcomes you all at a 5-day international faculty development program on recent trends in applied mathematics. We are successfully on the fifth day, and my hearty thanks to my management for the constant support and motivation. I also warmly welcome our supportive dean, Dr. A. Vishwanathan sir, my colleagues and friends who are the backbone for this program. With all due respect, I welcome our resource person today, Dr. P. K. Kishore Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of Information Technology, AI Muzna College of Technology, Oman, for accepting the invitation to share the knowledge and experience with the fellow faculties. Last but not least, I am delighted to welcome all the distinguished participants for our 5-day International Faculty Development Program. Thank you for attending our program from all regions of the world. I hope that you all would be definitely be benefited through interaction with eminent personalities from academics. Welcome again. I hand over the session to Dr. P. K. Kishore Kumar, sir.
Good morning, all. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, all. This is Kishore here from Musana College of Technology, Oman. I welcome you all for this wonderful Web FDP program, which was continuously conducted for the past 5 days, and this is the fifth day. I hope this session will be useful for you, and we'll just start the session. Before that, I would like to thank the management for giving me this wonderful opportunity and the organizers whose vibrant efforts were there in this eminent program. So we'll just use the slide now. One second. Can you see my screen? Hello? Is that clear,
Yes,
ma'am? Am I audible? Can you see
sir.
the screen?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Okay. Yeah. So in today's topic, we are just going to see about some of the concepts on machine learning techniques and how do you use machine learning techniques in research and what kind of algorithms we are going to do with. We'll just see one by one. So we'll start with what is called machine learning here. So machine learning is an application of artificial intelligence that provides systems the ability to automatically learn and improve from experience without being explicitly programmed. That means the machine is just trained by the data which is provided by the human beings, and as it gets trained, it is just getting the input and it provides output with some accuracy. So especially with the data as an exploratory analysis, right? So now the primary aim of this machine learning is that it allows a computer to learn automatically without human intervention or assistance and adjust actions accordingly. So there is no human support as and when the machine gets learned by itself. And once it is done, the output and the accuracy of this machine is predicted using some models. So we are going to see what is that in depth. So here is a structure you can see. So we have a traditional programming method. What is traditional programming? Is like you're giving a set of rules and you're giving the data set, and the machine predicts the answers and giving the answers as the output. Whereas in machine learning, what it does is we just flip back another way. We'll just give the answers. That means we give the known information first with the data, and the machine gets trained with that data. And whenever we give some other data as an input, the test data, then the machine predicts and it forms out the rules and predicts accuracy of that, and it provides the output as accuracy part. So this is called as machine learning. So the traditional programming and machine learning differs by this way, right? So the analysis here is like we just go for the training phase here. So in the training phase, we'll just use these neural networks concepts, like the mission is modeled with the data which we're going to give as a training data. So it gets the training data and it trains and learns the information from that, and it predicts the accuracy based on that. So that phase we call it as inference phase. So when we train the data, we call it as training phase, and when we test the data, we call it as inference phase here. All right. Fine. So this is the Venn diagram which shows where is machine learning put. So you have the superior one, which is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is nothing but it is just making the computer act smart. Okay, it depends on the success part. And whereas when machine learning comes into the picture, it reads the data, it is doing an exploratory analysis of the data and provides accuracy based on the input what is provided by the user. And there comes something called deep learning, which is inside, which is a subset of machine learning. So deep learning actually mimics the human brain. Okay, so it is just thinking as a human what human being does, and based on that, it gives accuracy of that. And also you have in deep learning, there are a lot of networks like artificial neural networks, convolution neural networks, and recurrence neural networks, which are used for training the numerical data, image data sets, and the time series analysis sets. Okay, so this is where deep learning comes into the picture. And as if now, like when deep learning is in the part, so it is providing an efficient results. So I will talk about deep learning later. So the programming languages which is used here is Python 3.6, which is a giant programming language used across the globe. Okay, and Google also used this language, so we have a Google platform to work on this. It is integrated with that. So I'll show you about these things. And R program also is doing a remarkable job here, but it is almost dealt with the biological analysis and biological data sets, which is working very efficiently there. Right. So we'll go with the next slide. Now we will just see some mathematics involved in machine learning. So the first one which plays a major role in machine learning is linear algebra. And the second part is multivariate calculus. The third one is statistics and probability. And the last one is algorithm. So we have this mathematical concepts which are inbuilt in machine learning concepts. So all the algorithms, each and every algorithm has got its own significance, and all these mathematical models plays a major role. Like it is used to build a model, and how efficient it works with is analyzed through these concepts, right? So now we can see this pie diagram where linear algebra comes in probability 25%. When we talk about linear algebra, scalar multiplication, transpose, row equivalent method, determinants, inverse, scaling, rotation, shearing, eigenvectors. So these are helpful in some application parts which you have already seen yesterday, like principal component analysis, which is used for dimensionality reduction. And this linear algebra plays a vital role in making the decomposition and making the encoding of the data set. So I will just talk about this when I go with the example. Then calculus part is dealt here to find the slope of the curve, and to reduce the error rate, where the error rate is measured, and all those things. So it is using some concept called method of gradient descent to optimize the data, actually, to make the linear transformation into non-linear function sometimes, and to calculate the accuracy. It is best used. So the major part which we concentrate here is partial differentiation in Jacobian of the matrix, which is involved much in calculus part. Then we go with probability. Probability, we have major things to discuss with. So some of the concepts we deal with: random experiment, sample space, then mutually exclusive events, independent events, then marginal probability, joint probability, condition probability, Bayes theorem, and Gaussian distribution, central limit theorem, etc. So these are the concepts involved. So I'm not going to talk in depth on this. I'm just briefing out the outline where we are going to use, and mainly we are using the concept called Naive Bayes classifier in an algorithm, which I will show you soon. Right. Then we have the major part which is going to deal with this concept, machine learning, is statistics part, because statistics plays a vital role in collecting the data as a data mining part, which is very essential. Then to pre-process the data and to make the measures out of it, like mean, median, mode, and measures of variability and standard deviation. And some concepts on computer science we have, like entropy, information gain, and confusion matrix, and hypothetical testing, of course. So all these concepts are covered together with statistics, which is playing a very, very important role in machine learning techniques. And some of the applications are weather forecasting, data analysis, and on image data set, etc. So this is how the mathematical concepts are used. Okay, so we will just start with what is machine learning now. So machine learning has been classified into three parts, and I'll just put it into three jars here. One is supervised learning, the other one is unsupervised learning. And the third one is reinforcement, divided into two parts, three types of polynomial regression, and random for all the algorithms which you're going to use to our model. And we can just analyze which is going to predict the accuracy more. Based on that, we can use with our real-time data set. And we have in unsupervised learning, there are two groups. One is called as grouping, the other one is association. In grouping, we have k-means clustering and hierarchical clustering model. And in association, you have a priori algorithm and Eclat algorithm. I will talk about this soon. Then we have reinforcement learning or semi-supervised learning. In this, you have upper confidence bound and Thompson sampling method. So this uses some concept called market basket analysis to work on it. I will talk about this also. So this is the outline of machine learning structure. So in this part today, we're going to see some of the concepts on regression, and especially we see about what is called as linear regression and what is logistic regression in classification. And I'll just take a real-time data set and show you how we are working with Python and what are the output we are gathering with and what sort of accuracy we're getting it from that. We will just do that part. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide. Now we will see what is called a supervised learning. Supervised learning comes into the picture whenever the data available is with some label, or otherwise we call it as continuous data set. So for example, you have 3 coins here, which was weighted with 4 grams, 7 grams, and 3 grams. So this weight, we call it as feature selection, and the currency, we call it as label here. So whenever we say if it is weighted 4 grams, then it is going to be 50 paisa. If it is weighted 7 grams, then it is going to be 5 rupees coin. And if it is going to be weighted 3 grams, then it is 50 pence. So based on the weights, we determine the currency. So this is called as supervised learning or the labeled data set. So whenever a labeled data set is plugged into to our model, it is very easy. And when we talk about unsupervised runs and wickets, wickets and the wicket as a cluster here, and now we can say wickets gets greater. Here you can cluster here, and you can see the Borer data set. Now, what we have done is we have just made a cluster and we just made it into categorical data. So here the data does not have any label, and therefore we just make it as a categorical data, and we have the formation like this. So this is called as unsupervised learning, where you don't have a label for it, and you have to categorize like this. Okay, like this we can categorize into many parts. Okay, so this is called as unsupervised learning. And when we talk about reinforcement learning, in reinforcement learning, otherwise it is called a semi-supervised learning also. What we are doing is we are just giving an image or some data to the machine. Here I'm giving a cat image. Now the machine predicts that image, and it is telling like if it is cat, then it is fine. Suppose it is predicting as dog, for example, then the machine gets a feedback. Now the prediction is wrong. Why? Because it is a cat, right? So the feedback given is no, it is a cat. Now the machine learns by the mistake and it corrects itself, and then it just feeds the information. And as and when a cat image is inserted here as an input, then it correctly predicts it. So this is called as reinforcement learning, where it corrects its mistakes or the errors by itself and does the process. Okay, that is the structure here we have. Now we'll talk about supervised learning. Why? Because we are going to majorly work on this part now in this FTP. So first I will talk about what's the major thing which you're going to deal real value. Okay, objective part we'll just I'll talk about now and I'll go to the slides. So for example, you have this real value such as dollars or wage. The prediction is based on some input data. Okay, there are some input data. Based on that, we are going to get the output. So it always relies on some data, and therefore it is continuous here. Okay, we call it as continuous data. And the regression is having the continuous dependent variable. The regression involves the prediction of continuous values, of course, and the linear relationship between the dependent and independent variables carried on with regression part. Okay, all these things you will be understanding shortly when I move on to the slides. Okay, then we'll come to this part, classification. In classification problem, we are going to categorize the data. Actually, we are going to say whether in an experiment the patient has got a disease or not, or the basket has got red fruits or not, yes or no, like that. Okay, so we are going to categorize yes or no, like the machine is giving an output as 1 or 0 or 0 or 1, like that. Okay, it uses the categorical dependent variable, and it involves the prediction of discrete values, okay, with the numerical data like the binary codes. And there is no linear relationship. Of course, it is not mandatory like it predicts with the continuous data. It is not so. Okay, with the classification. Talk about this soon when I go for the slides, which investigates the relationship between this or determining the strength of predictors. How far your independent variable is, that is called the strength. For example, what is the relation between sales and marketing price? What is the relationship between age and income? Like this, we are just depending on some predictors and we are producing the target based on that. Okay, so that is called a regression concept here. Then we are forecasting here with the regression analysis helps us to understand how much the dependent variable changes when there is a change in one or more independent variable. So here is an example. How much additional sale income will I get for each $1,000 spent on marketing? So in the future analysis part, like when we want to predict something in the future, the forecasting has been done wonderfully with this regression line concept, of course. Then the trend forecasting, which is using the trends of, the future values again. So here is an example you can see. What will be the price of Bitcoin in next 6 months? Like this, we can predict the accuracy of the data, the targeted value based on this estimates, right? So this is what we're going to do in the regression part. Now here is a simple linear regression model which has y equal to b0 plus b1 x1. As a mathematician, so you are very familiar with what is this concept about. So I'm not going to do in depth on this part, but still I will tell you what it is. So we have y is called the dependent variable, which is depending on the independent variable x1 here, and b0 and b1 are the coefficients here. So x1 is called the predictor variable and y is called the targeted variable. Okay, this is what the model is. Now we are just going to use a method of least square to fit into a model. Here you can see some small, and then what I'm going to do is just a best. What happens is, so I will just show you here. This is the way to analyze all these concepts. Okay, all this mathematical part I'm not going to do in depth. Just you can understand. So here this m is called as slope, as we already see. Y equal to mx plus c, m is called the slope here, and c is the y-intercept here. Okay. So here we are calculating the slope and we are going to calculate the y-intercept, and now we got these answers, and finally we are putting it back in this place. Okay, and based on that we are going to predict the values of y. Okay, again, so when we predict that values of y based on these x values, we are getting the y predicted results, and now this y predicted results has been put in this graph. Okay, as a coordinate point, and this line has been formed. Now you can see some of the data which is a little away also. So some of the data is falling in this. Okay, that means it is intersecting this line exactly. So the distance between these points, that is called as error. Okay, so this error should be measured here. Whenever we take this model, the error should be significant. If it is more, then we can't take this model. It will never work out. Suppose if you had data somewhere here, then it is meaningless. Like it is sensitive of the outliers here. Okay, so here you can see, to calculate the error rate, we have something called coefficient of determination, where are going to find R value. So we calculate R value. I'm leaving now. This 0.3 value is data. Some points are away from this line, right? So whenever the error is getting, the R square value is getting very close. It is increasing. For example, 0.5 or 0.6 or like that. Then this data will be very closer. Okay. Now it is 0.3, so some data is away. So this model is not performing well actually. Why? Because R square value is lesser here. Okay, it should be more. Or if it is leading to 1, then all the points will be coinciding with that line. Okay, that is the meaning what we are seeing. Now I'll take you to a real-time example. So here is a data set we have with years of experience and the salary. Okay, so now I'm just going to train this data set. I'm going to take some of the data as a training data in our model and some of the data to be tested with our model. Okay. So now I'm going to take like this. I just take the training data. For example, there are 30 records here, okay, in a data set. I'm taking 20 data as a training data, and I'm taking 10 data as a test data here, okay. Now I'm going to perform this training, okay, here in the model, okay. I'm just doing it using Python. I will explain you what it is, okay. I will just train the data set, okay. I will just give this information. The machine gets trained with that, okay. Now I'm going to test this X value, okay. Actually, the original value for that Y is this much salary. For example, 1.5 years, it is 37,731. But we are not going to worry about this test. We are going to worry about the model, how much it is going to predict. Okay. So here, for example, 1.5 years, my model is predicting 40,835 as a salary, which is little higher. Whereas in other cases, closer, you can find accuracy. Okay, so the machine is into our account like this. Process what based on the salaries and the years of experience, we are formulating this. Right now, this is an example of a linear regression actually. So how it is, you can see here, the training data which we have given in the machine is it is forming out. As I told you earlier about a line which we have. This is the linear regression line. Now this data set is closely with this line, because the error is R square value is very high. Therefore, it is very closer. We can take into the consideration. Whereas in test data, again, you can see the test data also, which is very close. Therefore, the prediction is moreover accepted in this. Okay, as a machine, it learns the training data and it predicts the test data also very correctly. So this line is actually your Y predicted result. Okay, and this Y test result is this line. So sorry, this points, red points. Okay, so which almost all this data is falling in this line, right? So this is about linear regression model. Okay, right. Now we'll move on to multiple linear regression. See, it is not only dealing with one parameter, it has got more than one parameter also. For example, here we take the employee's years of experience and salary, right? Now in addition to that, I can take what are the courses he studies. Based on that, I can give the salary like that as a HR people. Then there may be some more inputs. Okay, those inputs we call it as X2, X3, etc. Now we're going to do that here. You can see here. Okay, now we are just plugging in this independent variables more, and that's why this multiple linear regression comes into the picture. Okay, so this is a model which we are seeing. Today I'm not going to discuss more about this because I'm going to take you to the next concept, which is called as logistic regression, and what it does exactly. We will see that. Then we have polynomial regression. Polynomial regression is something like requires it more times, and it will be very useful to fit some model, okay, to predict some accuracy. So this one also I'm not going to deal with today. Just as a part of the machine learning technique, I'm just telling about this now. All right, we'll just move on to the next slide. So this is the area where we're interested in today. We have logistic regression. Logistic regression is used when the dependent variable is binary in nature. For example, you're going to predict, for example, some COVID patients are there, 10 patients are there. I'm going to tell how many survive, how many have not survived, okay, like that. Those who are surviving, it is taken as 1. Those who have not surviving, it is taken as 0, like that, okay. So that is called as binary nature, okay. Like 1 or 0, yes or no, true or false, something like that. This is the binary outcome. And it predicts the probability of occurrence of an event. So here, we are going to use something called as maximum likelihood estimation to predict the probability based on the concepts. Okay, it builds a probability model, and based on this probability, whichever is very higher, based on that, we are going. Our model is predicting the accuracy, whether to produce a 0 or 1. That means whether to produce a survival or not survive. Okay, like that we can just predict that based on the probability values, which are going to delve soon. Right, we will just talk about it in the next slides. Right, it is used when the targeted variable is categorical. It may be binomial, multi. Multinomial and ordinal. Binomial means 2, multinomial means more than 2, like that. Okay, it's majorly what is the weather in forecasting analysis. This logistic regression concept is beautifully dealt with all this kind of analysis part. Still, it is used in the real time now. Right now, how do we convert this linear regression to logistic regression? Is we take the linear model here, but we are going to use the probability, and we are going to use a function called sigmoid function here. That is 1 by 1 plus e power minus 6. So this function is used to convert the linear model into a nonlinear system, and it is making this into a logistic regression or the logit model here. We call it as logit model. All right. Now we are just going to find the probability of the occurrence divided by its non-occurrence, and we are just going to take the natural logarithm for that, and we are going to build this model. It has got a lot of mathematical calculation in between. Okay, I'm just giving out the outline here. If you want to say, it will take nearly 2 hours of this calculation, because it is a very major calculation. What is from here to here we have, right? So now this model has been converted into logistic regression model. All right. Now we'll get into the next concept. Right now, how this sigmoid function is. Previously, we saw the linear regression, which is having a straight line, right? Whereas in logistic regression, it is having a S-shaped curve. This S-shaped curve, we call it as a sigmoid curve. Okay. For example, if you set a threshold value 0.5 here, and now I'm talking about those who have not survived, those who have survived, something like that. Then those who are not survived, it is very close to 0. Okay. It is asymptotically fit here. It is not exactly 0. It it's not at 0, it is asymptotical. It is very close to 1. Okay, it is not going to be okay. And this is the slab between. We have the threshold value, the threshold line. It has just taking that 0.5, and based on that, it fits the model. Okay, this is what happening in the logistic regression part. All right. Now we will take a data set which is called a Titanic data set. This is the real-time data set what we had. So you all know there is a major disaster in a ship, and the ship sunk into the sea, and you see some people have survived, and many of them have not survived. And now you're going to see this Titanic dataset, which describes the survival status of individual passengers on the Titanic ship. Now you have the information of this. So they have given this dataset like this, the passenger class. So whether the passenger has been traveled in first class, second class, or third class. And the survival, this is very important, where the mission predicts it. Okay, whether the passenger survived. If it is survived, it is 1. If it is not survived, it is 0. Okay. And the name of the passengers, the sex of the passenger, whether they are male or female, then the age of the passengers, then the passenger has got a sibling or a spouse, number of siblings or spouses, then the passenger has got the parents or children, number of parents or children, then the passenger's ticket number, then the fare where the passenger takes in British pound, and then the cabin number of that. And the embarking station where we're going to have C stands for Cherbourg, destination point. Now, based on that, we are going to work on it. So, fine. We will just, what I'm going to do here is, now I will just come out of this PowerPoint, and I will show you how to work with this model in the machine learning. Okay, it will be quite interesting to show you the machine learning with the help of Google Colab. I'm not going to use any software, even though I have software with me, but I'm not going to use that. I'll just show you in a Google Colab how it does work. Okay, we'll just see it now. One second, there is a problem in the machine. I'll just clear it. All right, fine. Now, this is a software which I'm using, the Python software, which is called a Spider IDE to work on all these machine learning models, which will provide the efficiency. This is called IDE, we call, okay? So there are a lot of IDEs we have. So one of the IDEs is Anaconda Spider, which is the recent one. But I'm not going to use this now. I'm going to use the Google Colab, okay? We have something called Google Colab. So here, how it is how we can use this, we can just log into a Google account and we can go for the drive here, okay? So once you can see this is the drive, okay? You click the drive and you will get the drive, and here you go to new and you can see in the more, you can see something called Google Collaboratory, which is the platform integrated with the Python, especially to work with a large data set. This is used. We don't want to worry about the machine, like whether the machine can work with this model. Please do. I'll just see. All right. So now this Colab, which I have worked out for this Titanic data set. Now I'm going to import this the data set. Okay. So the data set has this is the data set I told you, right? It has got 891 records. Actually, I'm going to import this data set here. You can see for importing that we have to study with Python. There are a lot of modules to study with. There are a lot of packages. One is called as Pandas Pandas package. The other one is numerical Python. The other things are Seaborn and Matplotlib for visualization of the graph, and of course the mathematical concept which we use, that is for math package, which is to be imported here. Right now we will just run this, okay, and we will just import it. Now this has been imported. Now I will just run this data set. Now this data set I already imported from the drive. Okay, I have here in this files I have my drive here. Here I can see where that file is. So my file is here, okay? Like. So this is the data set which I have already uploaded, okay? From this I'm taking the data. I just want to import it. So here I'm importing, okay? Now I imported that, fine. So for importing that, I want to use this drive import. Okay, then I'll just import the data as a data frame. Okay, I'll just import my data. Now I'm going to import that that data as a CSV file. Okay, comma separated value file. It is not an Excel file. It has to be converted to CSV file, which is very useful for the machine learning concept. Right. Now we'll just import that, and now we will just check 10 records from that. Okay, you can see this. Okay, so when I run this. So when I run this, I can you can see it very well here. So there are 10 records. Okay, you can see only 10 records. It is having 891 records, but I'm just displaying only 10 because I can't display everything, right? That's what I have done like this. So the passenger ID is here. The survival of that passenger, whether 0 stands for not surviving, 1 stands for surviving. Then the passenger class, third class, first class, second class, like that. It is dealt here. Then the name of the passenger, the sex of the passenger, whether they are male or female, and the age of the passenger, and the passenger has got sibling or spouse, then parent or children there, and then you have the ticket number, the fare of that passenger, and then the cabin number, and then the embark station, whether they are traveling to Southampton or Chelmsford or Queenstown, like that. So now this is the data which we could analyze. Okay, so whenever if you are a data scientist, when a data set is given, you need to check for the data what is the information about the data and how to cleanse this data. Okay, with this part comes into the data mining techniques. We call it as data pre-processing. Now I'm going to show how to pre-process this data and how to take this to our model. Okay, we are going to work with the logistic regression model. I'll show you. So here, actually, this is going to be your output. Okay, the model is going to tell whether it is giving the survival or not survival. Okay, it is going to tell about the passenger survived or not. Okay, now let me say how many passengers are there in this. Okay, I'll just run this and I will show you. Here you can see number of passengers in original data is 891. There are 891 records in this data set. Okay, now we'll analyze about the data. Now I will just show you some graphs, okay, which is using the Seaborn technique to show the survival and all. So I will just run this part, okay. What I'm going to do is, my machine is a little slow. We'll just wait for it. Now it is running here, you can see. So here you can see this graph tells about the survival. So you can see nearly 550 people have not survived, and nearly 350 people have survived, okay, out of 891 records, okay. And just showing whether how many have survived or not based on the survived column. This is fine. Then I will show you among this how many male and female have survived. That also we can see. So these are all visualizations where data scientist has to take care when you go for the machine learning techniques to apply with, right. Now here you can see in the survival, you can see 0. Here you see this many number of males, 450 males have not survived, and 90 female have not survived. In the survived range, around 100 people male have not survived, and around 250 people female have survived, okay. This is about the classification of the survivor, right. And then we will see about the passenger class, okay. So what are the class of passengers we have? We have 3 passenger class, right? In the survival, this one, blue stands for first class, orange stands for second class, and green stands for third class, okay. So here we have, this is for not survived. In this, how many passengers are there in first, second, and third class. I hope you understand this graph one by one. Now I'll just tell about the age also, okay. I mean age of the passengers. You can see what is the age range of the passengers, okay. Like nearly 50 people 0 to 10 age, and 10 to 20 there may be lesser than that. Then 20 to 40 age people or more in that ship, okay. Like that we can categorize about the age also in the histogram. Then we can see about the fare, okay. Like what are the fares we have. So here it is not so clear. I'll just increase the bin size, okay, and just tell you these are the fares which are quoted, okay. Like for example, this is the number of people who is having this 0 to around 150 is the pounds they spend, okay, around 750 people. Then this few people have spent more price, like that we can see the fares. So then we just want to see what are the input of the data, right? The information about data. So here we can see all the information, okay. The passenger ID, like I told you, right there, all that headings, the column headings you can see here, right? Now here you can see how many records. For example, passengers got 891 records. Now when you closely watch this, what happens is you can see age has got 714 only. Why? Because there are some information missing in this age, and there are some information missing in this embarked also, okay, and also with cabin, okay. So we will see where all those things. Here you can see in this, when I show this one, I was about to say this. I can see, you can see here, like this cabin has got NA, that means there is no value here, okay. So there are some data missing. Also in age, you can see NA, which is nothing but there is no value here, okay. There is no age. So we have to understand whether we can take this record into account or not. We have to analyze this. So this concept is called data analyzing, and we are going to, otherwise called as data wrangling, okay. We are going to wrangle up the data and try to understand which one we can take into the consideration. So here, again, I can show you the count plot of the sibling and spouse and all, okay. Like this you can see, visualize and see, okay. That is what this, SNS and Matplotlib is there for, to analyze visually. Now we'll go into data wrangling concept. Now, as I told you, how many data is missing there? We can check that, which is called as, we are going to use that a function called isNull to do that. For example, this passenger here, you see here false. This means that there is no null value. It is present here. Whereas if it is true, that means there is a null value, okay. So this full data, you can see wherever false, that means the value is there. Wherever it's true, there is no value in that place, okay. So to check that, we can use this function. All right. Now we'll just sum each columns, okay, and then we will understand what it is. You can see here there is no null value in the passenger. That means when it sums up, it is 0, okay. Whereas you can see in age 177 null values are there, and in cabin you can see 687 null values, and in embarked column you can see 2 null values, okay. Now how you can see as a visualization, where there's a map called heat map. So when you run this program, okay, about heat map, and we have to check, you can see here You can see in this cabin part, there are a lot of missing values. That means the yellow one highlights a lot of missing values are there. And when you take this column, the model does not take it efficiently. Okay, the model will not support this part, and it is meaningless to take this cabin column with the model. Okay, so we will exclude this column and we will take the other one. Whereas age has got only few missing values. Okay, so we can take from this picture is very clear where the data is missing, and in MBOG only 2 is there, so we can't see it exactly. Okay, so this is called as heat map in machine learning, where we can see I mean the data analysis, where we can see which information is missing out. All right, now what is our aim is? Our aim is to eliminate this column completely, cabin column, and to remove this null values. Okay, wherever null values, and we can make this efficient. Okay, now we are going to do that. Also, I will tell you about a plot called box plot. This is also an interesting picture where we can see the age of the person with the passenger class. For example, in first class, 30 to 50 group people have age people have traveled. In second class, you have something like 25 to 35 age people have traveled. There are some more people who are elders and some more people who are younger, which are outliers here. And same way in third class, you can see like that. So this is a plot called box plot, where it tells exactly about the information like this. Okay, this is used for interquartile range concepts and all. I will tell about that later. Fine. So now again we'll take the 5 records in the training data. Okay, I'm just taking this 5 records. Now what I'm going to do is I'll just delete this column, cabin column. Okay, because this cabin column has got a lot of null values. Okay, this NAN is nothing but null values. So we'll just remove that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that, okay, from this data. So when I run this code, I have just dropped this column. Okay, now again I will go for my data set. Now what happens is, like, you can see this difference here. The cabin has been dropped. Okay, here there is no cabin. That means I have dropped. Why I have dropped? Because I had nothing to do with, because there are a lot of null values which will not help with our model accuracy, model prediction accuracy. Okay, so that is why I dropped it. Now what is our aim is, like, we can also delete that null values records. Okay, now I'm going to delete the null values. Here what I'm going to do is, now you can see I'm going to delete the null values wherever null values are there. Already I have deleted the cabin column. Now I'm going to delete the null values, the age and all. Okay, so deleting means what I'm going to do is I will just completely take that row itself. Okay, that is called deleting. So now I have deleted all the null values. So previously, how many values were there? 891 values. Now, after deleting, there are some rows which are discarded from this data set, right? Why? Because we deleted, right? Now, I'll just check with some 10 records. Now, you can see here what happens. Previously, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 has come, right? Now, you can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth one is missing. Why? Because in fifth record, the age has got null value. Like that, I removed all the null values from this data set, okay? Like that I have removed. And now after removing, how many values are there? You know, I removed nearly 712 records are there after removing all the null values. Okay, as well as I've removed the entire column also, the cabin column. All right, now we will fit our data into the heat map and see. Previously we saw here, you can see we saw a lot of null values. Okay, but now you can see the null values have been removed. Now the heat map tells that there is no null value at all. Okay, now it is very clear that we can proceed with our data set and we can plug into our model. All right, fine. So now we will do that. Now we will sum all the values and see whether it is getting null, I mean 0. If all are 0, that means all the null values are removed, and therefore you have this no null values from this heap. All right, we'll just move to that. Now, one second. Now we will see the information of the data. Again, here you can see only 712 records are there. Why? Because we have removed some null values. All those row itself. I am talking about record means one row, full row, we call it as a record. So it has been deleted. So only 712 records are there. Now I'll just take only 2 records from that. Okay, first 2, because not only that, we are going to make this data set prepared for our logistic regression model. Okay, what we are going to do is, like, we are going to see this gender or the sex column. What we have here, we have male and female. So we are going to classify this male and female as 0 and 1. Okay, for that I'm going to change this column as zeros and ones, because the logistic regression will support one binary codes as well as the numerical values. Okay, so now I will just change this column, okay, into like this. Okay, for example, I take only 5 records and I am changing it. You see, the first passenger is male, therefore he is given 1. Okay, so in female column it is 0. Okay, we can classify like this. Second passenger is female, so in female part it is 1, male part it is 0. Like this I will make in this way, okay, as zeros and ones. Okay, so this way we have encoded. This is called as encoding. Linear algebra and all is majorly used in encoding this part actually. Okay, so now I don't want this 2, because I can say with one column itself the other about the other one. Okay, for example, if I talk about male column, 1 is there means he is male, 0 is there means he is not male, he is female. Okay, so I will just exclude this female. So I'm going to delete this first column. I'll drop the first column from this. Okay, so once I run this, then what happens is I'm just showing only 5 records because I can't show all, right? So I'm just showing 5. That means now female column is excluded. Why? Because with male column itself, it is enough that the information is sufficient. Okay, all right. Now for the passenger class, again there are 3 classes, right? This 3 classes also I will make like this 0, 1. This okay. Now what I'm going to do is I will just take this passenger class and I will make this passenger class as a 1, 2, 3. For 5 records, I'm just changing like this. Okay. For example, first passenger here in the third class, it is 1 means he is traveling third class. Second passenger in the first class, and like that, if it is in second class, you have 1, then it is going to be defining the second class. Now here also we can just make use of degrees of freedom. Like it is n minus 1. We can avoid 1 column so that based on the other 2 itself, we can say about the first class. For example, I will delete the first class. So what I'm going to do is I will just delete this first class. Now what happens? I have only these 2. Now what it says, for example, first passenger you got 1 year. That means he is traveling the third class. Second passenger, both the places 0. That means he is not traveling second class. He is not traveling for third class, but he is traveling the first class. That is the mean. Okay, so we can delete this first class and we'll make the data which is very in a precise manner. We don't want to use that. Okay, so like this, I am just wrangling up the data here. Okay, so in embark column you have something called the 3 stations what we mentioned, like Chelmsford and Queenstown, Southampton. Here also I will make as zeros and ones, and I will delete the first column. Okay, because once you delete with this 2 information itself, I can say, for example, 0, 0 means he's going to Chelmsford. Okay, embarking station is Chelmsford. Like that we can identify that. So now I have just made every data set into binary codings. Okay, now I'm going to what I'm going to do is like I'm going to concatenate, or I'm going to append this into all this information at last in the data set. Okay, I'm going to do that. You can see here I'm going to do this in this place. So I will just concat now. Okay, I am going to concat it. Now you can see here I have concatenated this. Okay, now what happens? You can see this 5 records. Now you have seen up to this, right? Now whatever we have done, which has been concatenated at the end, that means it's appended at the end. The male column, this embark stations, and then passenger class has been appended. It based on this. If you change this, then the position will be changing here. Okay, nothing matters here. You can change. Okay, so you can do like now. This data set is still not ready. Why? Because we don't want some information like name, because it will not take it will not have any impact over this ticket. No need of we will keep only the precise columns for our data. So now I'm going to drop the columns which are not required. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So I have dropped some columns. So now after dropping, I will show you the data here. Now you see this is the refined data what you have. This is called as pre-processing. Okay, so when you pre-process the data, a lot of the information gets pre-processed which are not unwanted or which are not relevant. So I just avoid all those things. Now this information, with this information I am going to use into our model. I'm going to plug into my model and I'm going to do that. Now which is our target? Our target is how many passengers have survived, whether the model is going to predict the accuracy of the survival or not. Okay, so this is the targeted value. We call it as Y also. Okay, whereas the other parameters, the predictors, age, sibling spouse, parent, children, fair, male, and these things, all this called as independent variables. Okay, or the x values. Okay, so we are going to plug this x values as the independent values, and we are going to find the dependent value as a survivor. Understand? That is the targeted output, right? Now we are going to train the data. Now how many data, how many records are there in this data? 712, right? We are going to train that. So for that, what I'm going to do, I will take the X value as you see here, except survived, because survived is survived, okay? This is the output value. Remaining all, I will take it for X, okay? The X parameter, because my model takes all this as X, okay? Now only the survived, I'll take it as Y. I hope you understand, okay? This is the targeted value, and this is going to be the independent values which are going to plug into the model, right? Now we will take like this. Now we are going to train this data, okay? For that, I'm going to use something called as scikit-learn from, there's a package called scikit-learn from machine learning. This imports all the models. There are a lot of models which are inbuilt, okay, based on a lot of algorithms developed in MATLAB or Mathematica. All those things have been put inside in this. Then we can just import that and run. Okay, we are going to import this train and test split. I'm going to make our data set as train data set and test data set. Okay, because we will keep some data as a test data. We will take most of the data and we will train that into the model, and then we will plug the test data and see the accuracy, how far it predicts or not. Okay, we'll do that. So now we have done this part. Now we'll go to the train, test, and we are going to see how many data is going to be trained, how many data is going to be test. Here you can see this test size. Okay, test size here 25%. Okay, so 712 test size, I'm taking only 25%, and random state is 1. That means when the machine is taking the data, for example, if I put random state 1, the data, whenever you use the same data, is going to get fed in the machine. Okay, for example, if you are using random state 1, if I'm using random state 1, we'll get the accuracy to be same, and the data set is going to be same there. I mean that records. If I change 0, then for that it will take some other data as the trained data, because there are 712 data, right? So we need to understand about that. So now I will train my data set. Okay, now what happens is like, I'm sorry, we'll run it again, something. Now it is trained. Okay, fine. Now we have trained the data set. And once it is trained, we are going to fit into a logistic regression model. So all these things are already inbuilt in the machine learning. Okay, we are taking it from scikit-learn package. So we have imported that one. Now, when you want to import that, I have imported now. Okay, I just run this already. Now I will take a variable called classifier, or as a function. Okay, so this is a class function which we are going to take, and we will run this. Okay, we will just take the logistic regression model. And now based on this function, we are going to call the object, okay, one by n. We are going to fit the trained data, okay. So we will just fit the trained data here, okay, classified.fit. Now once it is fit, it is using the logistic regression. It is giving some warning and all here. So this is the part which we have, okay. There are a lot of parameters it takes into account. So this is purely, conceptual in the logistic regression part, okay. It has got a lot of parameters to stick on with. I will tell about this one by one if time permits, because this is purely technical with logistic regression, because how this model has been built. Okay, some parts I will tell about. Okay, soon. Okay, we'll just come back to this part. Now, what I have done, I have just trained this model. Okay, now I'm going to predict this. I'm going to plug in the test data. Okay, I told you, right, 25% of this X data I'm going to plug in, and I'm going to predict this. Now I have plugged in and just I just predict this, okay, based on the trained data. Now my model is going to predict how many people have surveyed in the 25% test data. Understand? So now you can see how to do that. There is something called classification report, which we can see. This one also, I will just tell you, okay, what is classification report. Soon when I go to the PowerPoint, I will tell about this information. So it is generally speaking with the non-survival and survival, and we'll talk about precision, recall, and FA score theoretically in this PowerPoint again. Okay, I'll come back to this part. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tell about this prediction accuracy logistic regression. Okay, that's what we're going to see now. Now there is something called confusion matrix in this to understand how many people have surveyed, actually how many have surveyed, actually how many the machine has been predicted, actually how many have not surveyed, how many the machine has predicted. That part we call it as confusion matrix, and you can tell how much accurate the model is giving the accuracy. Okay, our model, logistic regression model is giving the accuracy. Right now we just imported this. Now we'll just run this confusion matrix. Now this is called as confusion matrix. So you have 2 rows and 2 columns. I will tell about this as a pictorial representation, like a plot. I will run this and show you. So this one we call it as confusion matrix here. Okay. So what does it say is actually, see, actually you have here predicted zeros and predicted ones. Okay. So this one actually how many have not survived and how many the machine has been predicted. That one it is showing. This is called as a true negative value. Okay, we call it something called as true negative. Now 83, it predicted correctly about the non-survived. Understand how many people have not survived? Actually, it is true from the test data, and the machine also predicted right. Okay, so those who are not survived, this is called as true negative part. Now we come to this green part. This is called as true positive part. Actually, how many have survived, and the machine predicted how many people have survived. That is 56. Okay, so this is called as true positive. So this one is true positive. This one is true negative. Understand? So now you have true positive here. We go just towards this side. This is called as false positive. Okay. Here what I say is actually how many have not survived. The machine, what it say, it is survived. Okay. So the machine is predicting wrong here. Okay. It is an error which is called as type 2 error. So 19 were like that. And when I say about true negative here, this is called as false negative. Actually, the machine is telling that 20 have survived, but the model, the actual data is showing 20 has survived, but the model is predicting that they have not survived. So this is called as type 1 error. Okay. So which is also called as false negative. So you have true positive, true negative, and false positive, false negative like this. Okay. Now how to measure the accuracy for this is we will calculate only this yellow box and green box. We will take this and we will add this. Okay. We'll add this too, because these are right accuracies, right, measured by the machine as well as the original data, and we have to divide by the entire sum. Okay. So we'll take true positive, true negative, add that and divide by the entire sum. So that concept we call as accuracy here. Now we will just predict that accuracy. For that also we have a code. I'll just show you here. So this is the accuracy. So the machine is predicting the accuracy for the test data actually. Okay, I'm talking about only 25% of data because 75% have been trained, right? So the test data, the accuracy is 78.08% actually. Okay, so we can't say the model is bad. It is okay because 78% is not a very big loss. Okay, with the model it is predicting almost right. Okay, so we can consider this model, but still we can improve the efficiency of this based on our C value here. Okay, I will tell about that. Okay, first you can understand what the model has done here. Okay, now you may ask me on what basis this has been predicted. Okay, so for this I will show you one more example. Okay, here we have one more example which is I'll just run this and show you. So this one is very small, you can easily understand. Okay, this is, I'll just run this also. So here I'm just taking only 10 data. Okay, just I'm just making like this. I'm not going to mount this data from the data set. Here itself I'm creating my own data set. Okay, so for example, if you see here, there are 10 people. Okay, 10 persons, and who has been affected with COVID. In that 4 have not survived, remaining 6 have survived. Like that I'm taking, and just I'm running this model. Okay, and then I'm just fitting this model. All these things are being same. Okay, what I've done there. Since there is only few, it is not showing any warning at all. I'm just running this and showing. So why I'm running very fast is I just want to show you where this concept is dealt with, because based on probability value, it is so. See here. Now I told about this, right? Now I'm taking all the 10 data here because it is very less. Okay, so I'm taking all the 10 data and fitting into my model. Here you can see something called model.predict probability. Okay, what does it mean is here this first column stands for not surviving, second column stands for surviving. You see these values are probability values. For example, 74 probability is 0.74. Here the probability is 0.25. Among this, which is greater, 0.74 is greater. Therefore, this is falling under the non-survival. Understand? Because 0 stands for non-survival. Like this, it is comparing, and the machine is taking among this probability, whichever is greater, that is considered to be zeros and ones. It is making that as zeros and ones. Like this only, this Titanic data set is also working with. Okay, this 83 and these values are done based on this probability model, because I am not showing that. In the small model I'm showing, this is the probability values which are calculated by this model, actually, the logistic regression model. Okay. For example, you can see here somewhere this fifth one. You can see here this one here you have 0.26 and 0.73. Among this, which probability value is higher? 0.73. But this column stands for 1. Okay, survival. So the model is telling that I mean it is throwing the output as 1. Understand? So like that the model runs. Okay, it predicts the model. Sorry, it predicts the information. And now here you see I'm just running with 4 zeros and 6 ones, but the model is giving me 3 zeros and 7 ones. Okay, so one is not correct actually in this. That is the meaning. Okay, when you score it up, it will be showing 90% it is true. Understand? Because this one is not correct. So this is just a small one. Okay, for this also you can create a confusion matrix and you can understand it. Here you can see because only 10 records are there, right? This is a confusion matrix. You have actually not surveyed 3, model also made is 3, actually surveyed 6, a model has been made as correct, but 1 the model is predicting actually it is not surveyed, but the model is predicting that's correct. Okay, this is a small information. When you add it up, you can see only 10 records, 10 records are there in the data. This is a very small example which I thought of telling you about the model, how it works with. Okay, because I can't show it with the big data set, so I took this probability values. Based on that, the model is throwing. This is called as maximum likelihood. Okay, where the likelihood falls here. Okay, we have to understand that part. Right. So we will analyze. We have analyzed that part. So that is what I'm talking about here. Fine. I hope you understand and enjoyed this concept. Okay. So now this is your confusion matrix concept. Okay, you can see here. So this is the structure of confusion matrix. The first one we call true positive. This one will be true negative, and the other two are false negative and false positive. I told about precision, right? What is precision is you have to add the true positive and false positive, and you have to take true positive and divide by that. Then you will get precision. Okay, these are the values which are predicted there in the model. Okay, and there is a meaning for that. So what if that is? It is telling that out of all the positive cases we have predicted correctly, how many are actually positive? Understand? That is called true positive. And the recall is nothing but out of all the positive classes, how much we predicted correctly and what is the high chance of prediction here. This is called as a recall here. And when we compare this recall and precision, then we have something called F measure, which is talking about the means of this. Okay, we are using a harmonic mean to calculate this. Okay, this is hypothetical testing. This is just showing the strength between the recall and precision where the machine builds up. Okay. So these are all more theoretical stuff which you have to deal with. So if you're interested, you can just mail into my inbox. I'll talk about this and I'll just put a video on this topic. Okay, I'm not going to tell more statistical methods here. Just I have showed enough concepts regarding the machine learning techniques today. All right. Now I'll just run with the next slide. So now we have some of the applications of machine learning. So it is used in Facebook recognition. Okay. So here this is supervised learning because you have a lot of friends in the Facebook, right? So whenever you tag your friend's picture, automatically it captures the name, right? So this data we call it as supervised learning. It is using supervised learning algorithms. Okay. Then we have games on XPOS where you can play it using the motion captures. It is using an algorithm called random forest algorithm to work on. This is a machine learning technique. We have something called virtual headsets. This is using a machine learning techniques. Then we have voice over IP. We are using our mobile for appointments, or we are just using for some voice informations, right? So it's widely used nowadays, like to get appointment with something. Okay, for that we are using machine learning techniques. Then we have this robot dogs, which is using the reinforcement technique. Okay, it is learning by itself and it's helpful for some works and all. Okay, this is a model created using machine learning. Then this Amazon, you know about that. It is using machine learning techniques to capture the customer requirements. Okay, so all these are widely used because whenever you see some products, automatically it falls into the mail and all, right? How it is happening? It is just using machine learning techniques to see how far you are searching about that, and it's also using association rule mining and all to tell about what you want. Okay, then Netflix is using machine learning. Audible, it is a franchise of Amazon. Okay, it is also using machine learning. Then it is widely used nowadays in medicinal fields like especially with image processing and like screening of images. For example, now this COVID images, we are doing a project like we are screening the COVID images and telling about the information, like how far the disease has been spread and all. We are using deep learning techniques there. For that, this machine learning concepts and all are highly used. Okay, so we are using in data analysis. Then we are using in geographical locations in ISRO and all the other space stations. They are using this machine learning techniques to see the borders, how far some information is predicted based on the edges. Okay, edge detection, all those things. So this is the wide usage of machine learning applications, and that's it. These are the references which you can go with machine learning. If you want to study about machine learning, you should be very clear that you have to take a language, either Python or R. You have to be very strong with that, and then only you can understand the models and you can run with mathematical concepts. So this is a general one. Okay, it's a generic algorithm which is used in mathematics. It is used in all the fields like algebra and all the other things like topology. Then set theory. Then we are using it on different scenarios. Okay, graph structures, everything. So this machine learning is a common one which is used in all the mathematical concepts. And there is a book called Mathematics for Machine Learning, which is talking more about mathematics. And we can create our own algorithms also, which could efficiently work with these models. Okay, and we can use that to predict the accuracy. And if you have any doubts or any queries, you can just mail into my inbox. Okay, thank you so much. So I hope you enjoyed this session. Thanks. Over to the host. Thank you.